Hello everyone, I'm PH Builds, and if you're new to the channel, hi, I'm mainly known for keeping a build guide for Herald of Agony Necromancer that's mainly focused on bridging the gap between your level 1, your beginning of the campaign, your league starter, and the beginning of the advanced endgame. As you can see here, my final setup, it is pretty good, it is pretty strong. We are still in the, I would say, 80 to 100 divines range, which is where Herald of Agony truly shines. Herald of Agony is a great mid-budget build. It does not scale greatly in the high budgets, and it is a bit rough on the beginning. And this is why I've made my guide. I want you to basically take you from level 1 and help you reach your powerhouse status where you can clear tier 17s. You can do your kind of advanced and difficult content on a budget. So my guide, as I said, goes over everything in the campaign. I give you all the different act setups, and I give you two different way of mapping, one playing cyclone, one playing bow. And if you're not familiar with Herald of Agony at all, let me just showcase very quickly what it is. This is like a simulation character. I'm level 78 because I've done a bunch of tests, but as you can see, I have a 5 unspent skill points, so it's the equivalent of like level 73. I have all scuffed gear, a 4-link here, a 4-link here, and whatever. Let's go into a map. So, what is Herald of Agony? Herald of Agony is a build that summons this little green guy that shoots up and he kills stuff. And it is pretty fun. It is pretty good. It's an unusual way of playing minion because it is an immortal minion that cannot be damaged. And that does pretty decent single target, especially if you're built for it. Um, so yeah, it is a flavor of auto stacking. And I guess if you don't know what it is and you want more detail on how it works, I suggest you check out my 3.26 guide where I go into detail over every little nook and cranny of the build. This will take me way too much time compared to what I want to do here, which is just give an update of what has changed with 3.27 and basically how good are we in the new patch. So let us come back to the POB. So let us discuss now changes for 3.27. First of all, you might have seen minions now always hit, which means we no longer need accuracy. If you were familiar with the previous versions of my build, this means that we basically get around 10% more DPS on every stage of progression, I guess. About 10% more DPS, yeah. I've already configured this out here with having added like a decent amount of accuracy, I guess. Another thing that has changed is that now specters no longer die. I mean, they do die, but they come back. So before in all my mapping setups, I was not using specters as they were supposed to be the cheapest like way of basically getting you to reach the end game setups. And like if they were to, the specter would die on us, like it wouldn't make any sense. You waste money for something that's useless. I think that maybe in some of my setups I had um, the old like free gorillas from the campaign that you can take. But now specters respawn, so I've added them in all my setups, and we're using the determination and grace um, specters, and I should have represented them, yeah, exactly in my here with the stats in the configuration. Um, this means that like you might not believe it, but this is actually much improved survivability from the previous version. So I think we now do have like some okay-ish damage. This is like the very like scuffed beginning of maps section, and we do have some pretty decent DPS and some okay-ish survivability. Like I think these changes finally makes us not an awful league start, I guess, which is the biggest. If you've ever played like Herald of Agony before, this is like an unbelievably huge compliment you can pay to the build, pretty much. So yeah, if the specters end up being absurdly expensive, you know, I guess we will not run them and we will be as squishy as before. But I mean, uh, you're playing Herald of Agony. You're not like blasting day one. You're not competing against Fabgun. So by the time you're in a position where you're starting to look into buying your specters, they will probably be, I don't know, 20 chaos or something. Like especially because like now the demand is literally limited because you don't need to replace them. Um, so yeah, uh, so basically we are a bit tankier. We have a bit more DPS. The gap between us and all the other like meta builds that were running lighting has shrunk massively, as we don't suffer too much from losing our mercenaries, while those lighting builds were basically getting, I don't know, 150% more DPS or something. So yeah, and also by the way, slightly, I guess, funny. Maybe you've seen also Obama got nuked from orbit, which means that we are now one of the better minion builds. As you know, the king, I guess, got knocked down a peg or two. Um, and so yeah. Also, by the way, in the new season, we will get two new equipment slots, and for what we've seen, these equipment slots seem to be able to roll regular affixes. And if you're unfamiliar with the build, eventually we basically ditch everything on the tree to just focus on clusters, and we're also running all uniques, which is why the build is so cheap, by the way. Um, but this results in us having to gather 150 strength, another 50 dexterity in a intelligence starting position, and a bunch of resistances without having access to our tree, pretty much. This means that we were incredibly starved for attributes and resistances. As you can see, I have it in all my clusters, and without these points, like we literally do not function. But now, since we have these two extra equipment slots, if we can like roll something like, I don't know, 20 strength, 20 dex on them, that's incredibly massive for us, and it doesn't do much for builds that could actually fix their stuff easier. So they would be like probably an incredible quality of life improvement for our build. So yeah. Also, I want to briefly mention, yes, we have had two, I guess, multiple minions ascendancy in the bloodline ascendancy, and there is an herald node. I think it's unplayable because like we cannot afford to not run chaos inoculation. Like I thought about some kind of depraved ivory tower setup where we grab here, we go to here, we grab, we put in the timeless jewel, we get coruscating elixir, and we then reserve all our life. We play arrogance, Herald of Agony, and we reserve all our life to get that bonus. I don't think it's better than our current setup. Like we invest so much stuff, we lose so much stuff from um, our body armor, our everything. Like I cannot see it being worth it. If it can be made, I guess you need to find somebody that's smarter than me because I cannot, for the life of me, make it. So, you know. So that's the end of this section of the video. I now want to like take a brief detour because I want to talk about my league starter for this new league. As surprise, I did league start Herald of Agony last season. I'm not league starting again because I think since Connor Converse made this video again on Zenith, I think that strength stacking is going to be extremely expensive, and I think this means if all the sweats that want to go into Uber Endgame are doing strength stacking, I think that armor stacking will be relatively cheaper. And so I've decided to league start armor stacking. Now this is of course a suicide. And in order to be able to do that, I've cooked up basically a setup that starts Scion but does not go armor stacking, of course, which should let me farm up until I can reroll to armor stacking. And if you're curious, I kind of want to go over it briefly. I think I've cooked up something pretty decent here. We're doing a Reap Exsanguinate self-casting Scion. So basically, this is a remixed and upgraded, I would say, version of a Hierophant Reap self-cast. So this is how we're finishing the campaign. Basically, we have some pretty decent survivability. We're running Exsanguinate, and there's a new runecraft that gives a free chain. we can just put it here in some other like useless mastery that we grab along the way, and this will like give us some pretty decent both the single target DPS and AoE, I guess, before we swap to Reap. So this is our leveling setup. I've already tested this up to Act 10, I guess. Almost finished the campaign, and it is solid. So now we're going to maps, and by the way, in for this setup, so here we are doubling our DPS. You might be familiar with this weapon if you know Herald of Agony, because this is also the Herald of Agony weapon. I guess we're running two of them. So this is 2 Chaos in total. And we double our damage. There's no, like, this is just attributes and life. There's absolutely nothing here. And this is still pretty good. Then we invest a slightly bit more. And now we get to a really comfy, like both max hits and also DPS. This is where I expected to also have chain, by the way. And so also what's fun about this setup is that I plan on running a Maven like rotation, I guess, the bossing stuff. So here I've selected all the super gems for Exsanguinate, but without changing literally nothing else on the tree. You can just do a couple of skill swaps, and like you take a Exsanguinate and Spell Echo, and you put in Reap and Spell Cascade, and now you're looking at a absolutely massive DPS on your burst. Like, do bear in mind that this is how many super gems? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, like this is still absolutely potato gear. Like so this is going to be a couple divines for sure. This is, I think, 10 or 15 cares or something, and everything else is the same, absolutely the same life and resistances gear from before. Basically, I have changed literally nothing. Well, not literally, but like this is still extremely cheap for a pretty decent setup. And then if we start investing a bit more, we get to a really juicy setup. This is of course like more expensive, but it's still pretty much like doable. This is a +2 with some random stats. The same helmet, the same shield from before, like a slightly better helmet with like just Eldering presets, and everything else is like regularly like energy shield, life, and attributes. Like there's nothing, but yeah, this is like a 2 or 3 divines amulet. Like what I mean to say is that there's nothing crazy here, and you get like a massive result. Also, by the way, I wanted to point out, yeah, we get to some funny numbers also. Like we get to 16,000 total life, I guess. Yeah, and we can, if it needs be, like I've not tested this out already, but you can absolutely like this has been taken exclusively for damage. Like you can come out of here, still keep like a decent DPS number, and go into like Juggernaut, for instance, in order to get more easy access to endurance challenges that cannot be stunned, cannot be chilled. You can go into Pathfinder for a good chunk of DPS, and also like a perma-slow on monsters, and like nullifying every like increased attack and cast speed modifier that mobs have. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. You can get taunt. Yeah, it's very flexible, basically. So I think this is pretty good. I will have like both PUBs in the description. So this is what I plan on doing, by the way. And yeah, I guess we will see. So I guess have a good one, and I'll see you at League Start.